swoop down on our supermarkets and take us over. And I also don't think they're here to tell us how to clean up the environment and take care of the garbage. And those are the two kinds of rather simple-minded versions that we're getting all the time. It's far more complicated than that.
New York City artist, author, and lecturer Bud Hopkins knows he's bitten off a big chunk. As usual, he finds himself in the unenviable position of trying to convince an audience that space aliens are not only real, they're here, and on a fairly regular and widespread basis, they enter people's homes, float them out through a window or wall into a waiting spaceship, conduct invasive medical procedures, and then return the victims to their beds with little or no memories of these unthinkable encounters. It's a tall order.
When people talk about wanting physical evidence in abduction, they really mean one thing. I want to see a spacecraft, or a big hunk of a spacecraft. I want to walk up to it and see it, or at least I want to see an alien sitting there, or a dead alien or something. That's what they want, which is almost like saying about some other issue. For instance, did Adolf Hitler commit suicide in Berlin? I want to have been there to see him shoot himself, and I want to see that little burnt mustache and a body and so forth.
Hopkins is by far the most experienced and best-known abduction researcher in the world. Abduction guru, his critics call him, a guy out to sell books. A courageous pioneer, his supporters retort, who is dragging the scientific community kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Hopkins has sold books, no question, lots of them, and his lack of scientific credentials certainly opens him up to bitter criticism from those with degrees on the wall. But if he's a money-grubbing messiah, he is among the most reluctant on record.
Nobody wants this to be real. Everybody requires it to be on some kind of shelf of the mind that this really can't be going on. Even I feel that need. And I think human resistance to this is so powerful that it cannot be underestimated. Nobody wants this to be true.
Resistance to the possibility of alien abductions has been nearly universal among scientists and mental health professionals, most of whom haven't studied the data whatsoever. But it's been a godsend to thousands, perhaps millions, of confused people concerned about their sanity. In a town outside Nashville, Tennessee, a family man named Herman is relating some of the unbelievable experiences he's had since childhood. Experiences which didn't make sense until he read about the abduction syndrome.
Earliest memories, it seemed like that when I was a kid in kindergarten, that all the other kids made fun of me because when they were sitting there drawing pictures of cars, I was drawing pictures of spaceships, and saying that I was talking to the kids and my friends and telling them that by the time that I died of old age, that they would be people from other planets living here on the Earth. They all laughed at me and everything, called me crazy, and so I just, eventually after a few years of school of ridicule, I just withdraw it into myself and didn't talk to anybody else about it. From about the time that I was 13, that a lot of things started happening about then. The last thing I really remember is running into a bright light shining on the ground. And the next thing I remember is I'm standing in front of my dad's house, which was still about another mile away. I'd missed about an hour to an hour and a half of time. And the next morning when I got up, I noticed little scars on each arm, and they looked like a little pizza cutter had been rolled down my arm and pulled out little plugs of skin.
And then I got to here, and there was this little man standing right there by where you are, pretty much right there. But he was really short, and he had on like a silver suit. I think it was like a dark silver suit, maybe grayish suit. And he had a really large head. He was only like to here.
Nancy Anderson of Las Vegas has conscious memories of several encounters with alien beings. She also has other telltale signs of abduction experiences, including periods of missing time, unexplained marks and scars, and memories of physical contact with terrifying entities.
When I woke up and that gray was across my knees, I was so scared. I've never been that scared in my entire life. And I tried to move or scream, and I couldn't. I just couldn't. I really tried to fight him, and I couldn't do anything. Nothing would come out. I was just like paralyzed. He wasn't very heavy on me. He was probably weighed about 45 or 50 pounds. He wasn't very heavy.
Elka Emmons can't remember what happened to her. All she knows is that she watched a UFO land behind her home in Michigan. The rest is a blank.
It just gradually settled down in the field. And at that point, I panicked, and I shut off all the lights, and I went upstairs, and I hid in the corner of the bedroom. And as I told you, I sat there for what seemed to be no more than a minute or two. And then I woke up in the morning. I obviously lost the time, because I don't know how I got in bed in the morning. And I lost the whole night.
Missing time is the phrase coined by Bud Hopkins to describe the memory lapses reported by 3/4 of alleged abductees. It is but one of the common denominators reported by so many people all over the world, people who don't know each other and who have nothing to gain by relating their stories.
The scope of it is enormous. I have had police officers who are abductees who've come to me. I've had housewives. I've had 2 people who are well known in the entertainment field who are abductees. I've had, as I mentioned, psychiatrists who are abductees, psychologists, doctors, nurses, lawyers. A full colonel in an important position in the Army recently came to me about his experiences. This is a completely cross-cultural phenomenon. It gets into every socioeconomic area.
The only things all of these people have in common are their recollections of these unbelievable encounters and their desire to understand. For the most part, they haven't received much help from science or the mental health profession. Such critics as Carl Sagan have dismissed abduction reports as hallucinations, fantasies, hoaxes, or the result of psychiatric traumas brought on by childhood sexual abuse. There's only one problem with these various explanations. None of them fit the facts.
The cliche image is, well, a psychiatrist could explain this away. But the psychiatrists themselves are saying, in fact, we can't explain them away. In fact, this is extraordinarily interesting and important. And I think that little by little, more and more people, as they've come into first-hand contact with this material, are realizing that they're up against, at this point, what may be the most important event in human history.
Gaining acceptance and assistance from science and medicine has proven a rugged challenge, but change is in the air. More on that in a few minutes.
Oh, tell us about the last time when you were abducted, the very last time.
If talk radio really is the last bastion of direct democracy, then what is the public trying to tell us about UFOs? Nationally syndicated hosts like Billy Goodman know that the UFO topic, in all of its forms, is a staple. It is raised night after night, year after year by audience members. While most other media can't or won't address the subject, talk radio revels in it.
And what was your encounter like, may I ask?
Several disc-shaped objects flew above my house, hovered, maneuvered in various manners.
Hovering discs are somewhat passé these days. Radio shows, TV tabloids, and popular books have repeatedly covered this ground. But it almost seems as if the phenomenon itself wants to up the ante. In the 40s and 50s, UFOs were little more than elusive lights in the sky, a popular curiosity. This, for example, is regarded by some as the first modern-era UFO photo, taken in 1947 over Seattle. In the 1960s, the lights started landing. Credible witnesses, such as New Mexico police officer Lonnie Zamora, risked their reputations by reporting what they had seen. Several thousand landing site cases have since been documented. It was also in the 60s that the first cases of alleged alien abductions gained prominence. Betty and Barney Hill's lives were turned upside down by their seemingly incredulous account. They weren't really the first, and they certainly weren't the last. In the 70s, burgeoning abduction reports bubbled to a surface suddenly crowded by equally bizarre phenomena. Animal mutilations, temporarily centered in the American West, and inexplicable crop formations, focused in Britain. Similar formations appeared in the ice of frozen lakes in Russia. UFO sightings were linked to all of the above by witnesses and researchers. The 80s and the 90s have seen the stakes raised once again. Reports of abductions have escalated, mutilations abound on a worldwide scale, and crop formations have progressed from simple circles to intricate designs on every continent, as if someone is trying to tell us something.